Hello and welcome to this week's Productivity Enhancer. By far the two most popular programs in the Creative Suite are Photoshop and Premiere Pro. As a result, Adobe has really packed both of those programs with as much functionality as possible. Today we're going to explore some of that functionality by taking a look at the video functions in Photoshop. So if that statement feels a little odd, don't feel bad. I know I just said Premiere Pro and then I mentioned Photoshop and video in the same sentence. Why wouldn't I just work with video in Premiere Pro and leave Photoshop just for photo editing? Well, there could be a number of different reasons. The most common one would be that I just don't want to learn a new program. Say that I've spent all of my time learning Photoshop. Most of the media that I work with will be photographs. However, if I'm just starting to get into video and I want something that's quick and easy to just slap a few titles on and a few transitions, I don't want to have to learn Premiere Pro just for something simple like that. So with that in mind, I do encourage everybody to learn Premiere Pro. It's especially easy now that Adobe has the Adobe Cloud offering, where you can download any program in the Creative Suite. So we at SolidBox highly suggest that 1, you become an Adobe Cloud member, and 2, download all the applications and learn them at your own speed. Alright, so let's actually take a look at the video functions in Photoshop, now that we understand the reason for their existence. So as you can see, I have Photoshop open here with no media open. So we're going to go into the Adobe Bridge and pick a video, and you can see here in the bridge we have some JPEGs and then we have some .movs. All of this media was taken with the same Canon 60D. So in order to open a movie in Photoshop, all you have to do is grab that file and just drag it over into Photoshop, and there you go. It opens up just like a regular photo. The main difference that you can see is that our timeline is open, and the timeline will open if you do drag a video by default. But for some reason, if you do lose the timeline, it's always accessible via the windows, right down here at timeline. So before we work with this video, I just want to get rid of these grids here, show and remove the grid. There you see that we have a still of the very first frame of our video. And how do we know that it is a video? We'll just press the space bar and that will play through. And I'm going to go ahead and mute the audio because we don't want to work with the audio right now. And then hit the space bar to continue playing, and it just plays right through our video, just like you would expect. And that's the whole thing. So what can we do with a video in Photoshop? Well, as you might have guessed, we can do everything that you can do in Photoshop to photographs and apply it to your video. Let's say we want to add an adjustment layer. Then we can just go ahead and add a new adjustment layer, and let's make it black and white. Call that adjustment layer black and white 1. There you go. As easy as that. Now the video is in black and white. This adjustment layer can be linked and unlinked. But let's just go ahead and ditch this entire layer because we don't want that to be black and white. But the point is you can edit your video using the same exact techniques as in Photoshop, and what it will do is it will apply that effect to every single frame of the video, giving the appearance that it's native to that video. So what if we want this video to be a little shorter? Let's say we want it to stop maybe right about there. Well, there's a couple different techniques we can use. We can actually use the scissor tool and just put a cut right where that playback head is. I'm going to undo that. Or we can drag from the end and have it land right where the playhead is. And just like that, your clip is shortened. And we can play through and it will stop right at the end where we shortened it to. Okay, so let's say we want to add something to this video. We want to add a still, and then we want to add some more video on the end. So let's go back to the Adobe Bridge, and right in this folder, I would like to use this still right here, and how about grab this movie right here. So I'm just hitting Control and selecting it, and then I'll drag those two files right over to Photoshop. And I've set my default presets to open any photo in Camera Raw, the reasons for which we covered in a previous weekly Productivity Enhancer. But just a quick run through, by opening photos in Camera Raw, it'll open them as a smart object, which gives you a little more ability to edit non-destructively. And we have all of these handy dandy toggles here that we can just really dial into how we want our photograph right from the start. So once you have it where you want it, click Open Object, and there's that photograph. So I'm just going to duplicate both of these into that first movie file that we've had open. So duplicate into 2131. Okay. Do the same thing for the video over here. Alright, so as you can see on our timeline, by duplicating the photograph and the second video in, it automatically puts it on the timeline. We also have a video group 1 here, and that didn't come into play too much with one video, but as you can see when we have multiple bits of media in there, then they get grouped together. We'll talk more about that in a little bit, but first I want to take a look at the photograph and the second video that we brought in. And if we just play it from the beginning, you can see that it plays through, and it'll change to the photograph. And before we proceed, you can tell that the resolution is off. So I'm just going to go up and grab my move tool and then just bring this photograph in, and I'm going to even bring it down in size even more by hitting Control T, Control 0 to zoom all the way out, and then I'm just going to hold Shift and drag the corner of this box until it's positioned where I want it more. Right about there looks good. And then Control 0 again to zoom all the way back in. And then we have that flower exactly where we want it. However, if we take a look at these other clips, you can see something funky is going on. So if I put the playhead over there, you can see that the resolution of the screen size has been changed for both of these videos. So in order to change the resolution on just the flower, we're going to have to move that flower outside of this video group. So let's go ahead and delete this last command. And there our video is back to normal. And now we take the flower and we can just drag it up outside of that video group, and it basically creates a new spot on the timeline for just that image. So now we can go ahead and separate these two videos, put it kind of where we want it, put it right back there, and if we play through now, it's the same exact sequence, only by taking this photograph out of video group 1 and giving it its own group, essentially, we can now change it without changing the resolution of either of those videos. So now we can Control T, Control 0 to zoom out, hold Shift and drag it to where you want it, Control 0 to fit it back in, and we can accept it. Now when we play through, the resolution is okay here. There you go. Zoom to the end, and there's our second video. So it's pretty boring with that video just stopping on that one image, and that's perfectly understandable given that this is a photograph. There's no animation, no motion associated with this photograph. However, we can change how the camera perceives this image by clicking on this little triangle at the very end, and now you can see it's set to no motion. We can go ahead and put some motion in the camera above this photograph. So pan and zoom, this will add a nice Ken Burns effect. Just change that angle slightly, and we'll make it zoom out. And then when we replay, that photograph has a little bit of motion. So think of it that the photograph isn't moving, it's just the camera's perception of it. And then we move right back into this purple flower video. And I think that blur is a little too long, so let's just grab it and shorten it up, and that way it'll come into focus a little quicker. So right now we have 3 separate bits of media played in a sequence that resembles a video edit. However, it looks a little choppy if we just play it from just before the transition. You can see pretty jarring. So what we can do is we can add transitions. We have fades, crossfades, fade with black, fade with white, and fade with color. So let's just go ahead and fade in, do a fade to black, and we can shorten these transitions just by pulling on either side. So let's shorten that one up, and I'm just dragging and dropping. So let's fade with color on the in here, and whoops, moved it a little bit. So let's just grab the transition, shorten that up, and then we'll have a long fade out into, let's try fade with white, shorten that one up, and then just a regular fade off the end of this one. So let's play it from the beginning. Fades in, fade to black, fade with color in, a slow fade out, fade from white, and then just a regular fade out. And the last thing we'll cover today is adding text to your video. So let's just grab the text tool and bring our playhead back somewhere. Let's bring it all the way back actually. And let's select a nice font. How about this right here? And we'll bump it up maybe to about 150. And just type our title. And now you can see on our timeline we have it's essentially a new video group, and the layer is created here just like it would be on a photograph. We can also add a fade here. Let's fade in, and we can make that pretty much the entire length of the video. Fade out right about there. How about just a fade? So then when we play through, our title comes up, and that can just be moved. As long as we have that selected, we can move it. And it stays through the photograph, stays through the fade even because it's on top. If we do bring this layer all the way to the bottom, then it will be subject to all of the other fades, and it will basically be like putting it underneath the layers. So unless we adjusted the opacity here, it'll just be buried under layers, as you can see. So if you want it to be on top always, just make sure that it's on top and it will show up. You can obviously get way fancier with your script. You can add layer styles and filters on top of your text. These are all things that we have at our disposal since this is Photoshop. However, that's the basic video functionality in Photoshop. So if you are daunted by learning Premiere Pro, this is a really great way to be able to cut some videos and photos together with some basic transitions, as well as giving you the full breadth of Photoshop tools that are available for regular photograph editing. So thanks for watching this week's Productivity Enhancer. I hope it's been helpful. Until next time.